Marianne. Should I have them sex? I mean, Luke and Hannah are not going to be together this chapter.
You were saying something while we were at it. What were you mumbling?
It was a prayer.
Like,
Oh God, fuck me!
I like it.
Oh my god! Hold on, I'm going to replay that. That was so funny.
Like,
Oh God, fuck me!
I like it.
Oh my god! Oh, that gave me like goosebumps. Oh my god. Hey guys, it's Katie and welcome back to The Letter. In the last episode, we continue with Rebecca's chapter. We deny the invitation for Luke and Kylie to go out to dinner with them. We head home and we meet up with Ashton. We ask him if he would like to attend the party with us, and he says yes. And he says that he'll pick us up in the morning. So the next morning, he picks us up and we head over to the mansion. And as soon as we get there, Ashton kind of, goes off on his own, and he kind of ignores everybody the whole night. And that makes Rebecca very angry at him. We get into Ashton's chapter, and we still keep Isabella and Ashton's relationship down. When Ashton is about to head over to the mansion, Rebecca is waiting at Ashton's car for him, and she confesses his feelings to him, and she ends up going in for a kiss, and he, reciprocates the kiss. So we end up getting them together, which is super awesome. I'm so glad I was finally able to do it. I wasn't sure what I was doing wrong, but it's those little subtle choices that got them together. Ashton heads over to the mansion and he ends up in the prisons. And when he gets to the wine cellar, he can smell death. And he comes across Marianne's corpse, which was just so disgusting. I mean, her head was like only hanging on by her skin, I think. So it was just so gross. When he tries to leave, he can hear voices coming out of the mirror that's down in the wine cellar, and they're mocking him. It's, his friends' voices, and it's trying to trick Ashton, but he snaps out of it, and he continues through the mansion. We get into Luke's chapter, and since Marianne died, we were able to see a memory fragment, through Luke of the situation, what was going on with Lady Charlotte and her husband Edward. And he said that she had defiled herself in some way and he did not approve of it. And he was saying that he was going to leave, and when he said that he was going to leave, Lady Charlotte threatened him, saying that if you leave, you're going to be sorry. Since Marianne died, Luke decided to agree with Isabella to burn the mansion down. And we get the epilogue and we see the subtle changes of, how the characters are in the end. Isabella and Zach's relationship obviously went down and they kind of drifted apart. Rebecca and Ashton ended up being together, and Luke and Hannah ended up staying together as well. We start a new game and we're in Isabella's chapter, and I still wanted to make the relationship kind of bad, so I went with negative choices because I'm trying to see what would happen if Rebecca and Ashton kind of are together, but the relationship is like minus the point where the mark is. So I want to see if anything changes with that. At the end of Isabella's chapter, we decide to stay home this time, and Isabella gets a call from Rebecca. Rebecca asks Isabella out to dinner, and just as they're talking on the phone, a reporter on the TV says that, the following reported missing people. And Isabella cuts the call with Rebecca, and she starts investigating into the missing BRC employees and figured out that they are a match, that she knows these people. So she kind of loses track of time and remembers that she's supposed to meet Rebecca for dinner. So she rushes out of her apartment and goes to meet up with her. But as soon as she's about to cross the street, she sees the servant woman standing across the street from her. And when she goes to walk into the street, she gets hit by a fucking car. And it was just so gruesome. Like, she had broken bones. And I was like, oh my God, this is so gruesome. So we get into Hannah's chapter, and this time I'm trying to make Luke and Hannah's relationship kind of bad, but not all the way bad, because I want to see what happens in the epilogue when they don't stay together. So I still decided to take a break from Luke. And we get into Zachary's chapter, and as soon as he gets up, he gets a phone call from Ashton, and Ashton says to hurry up and come to the emergency room. So Zach goes to the emergency room, and Rebecca tells him that Isabella has gotten into a car accident. So let's continue where we left off. Oh, and I have decided I'm gonna start skipping the stuff that I've been rereading. Otherwise, this game is gonna be just a super long playthrough. I still want to do all the achievements, and I only have 80 out of 172 achievements unlocked. So I'm hoping that I can power through and get a lot of those achievements while I'm doing these different endings. And then, at the end, I'll just try to show how to get the other achievements. If I'm not able to figure them out on my own, maybe I'll look them up just so I can show it for this channel. And then at the end, I will maybe make a music mix of the gameplay music. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of say that I've been rereading a lot of stuff, and I still want people to be interested in the videos. I still want them to watch the videos. I don't want them to have to rewatch a scene where I've already read in a previous episode. So yeah, let's continue now. Hold on, I'm gonna have to go back and see what it said. A lump has suddenly lodged itself to my throat, making it difficult to get the next words out.
How bad exactly are we talking about here, Rebecca?
Critical. But I don't know. I didn't see her myself. When I came here, she was already in the ER. Has been since last night. The doctors haven't said anything since then.
And Ash?
He's looking into the crash. He hasn't called again, but he promised to keep us updated.
Another heavy sigh comes out of her. Abruptly, she stands and starts pacing, her trembling fingers laced tightly together in front of her. She continues for a good minute, treading the hall in short, uneven steps, before stopping and pressing both of her palms over her eyes, as if that alone will be enough to stave off her exhaustion.
I called her out, I promised I'll treat her to dinner if she gets out of her room. I was only hoping it would cheer her up after the news. The one about her co-worker yesterday. And now, I should have just kept my mouth shut. If I did, then maybe she'd still be.
Hey, don't blame yourself. You had no idea this would happen. An accident is an accident. If there's someone you should hold responsible for this, it's that ass who ran her over. Ash will find that guy, don't worry.
I wish it were that easy. God. It's one after another, Zachary. And no one will tell me anything. I came in here asking for her, and all they said was, "She's in critical condition, ma'am." What are we supposed to do? I want to do something. I need to do something. But I can't. Not when she's still in there. Still fighting for her life.
I wish I can give her the answer she wants to hear right now. But that has always been the hardest part in circumstances like this. Always out of our control, always out of our hands. The least I can say to her right now is... I want to save. You need to take a break. Cool. Rebecca does not move nor pull away when I lay a reassuring hand on her back and lead her to an empty seat. If things are not as bleak as they appear, I doubt she would freely accept the gesture, strong-willed as she is.
I know you're worried, Rebecca. We all are. But you have to think about yourself, too. I'll be straight with you. You look like you're a few steps away from falling over. How do you think Bella will react if she sees you like this right now?
You don't have to mince words with me. Just say I look like horse dung, Zachary. I won't be mad.
All right, ma'am. You look like you stepped and rolled in a pile of horse dung today. Not the same thing, but the way you are, there doesn't seem to be any difference.
There. Wasn't that easy? But yeah, she'll scold me. Believe me, Belle will. She whines with how bossy I am every time, but she doesn't realize how she's every bit of a mother hen as I am. Don't tell her I said that. And then maybe she'll laugh after. She never does stay mad with anyone for long.
That she does. Or you could always offer her food.
You don't have to tell me. That has always been a last resort. It works every time.
Look at us talking like she's gone and left us.
I'm sure it's nothing like that. I think this is just us hoping we won't lose her.
We won't.
You sound very sure.
Well, times like this, the only thing left to do is to hope. Maybe pray for the best. But I don't want to believe those guys inside aren't doing the best they can to save her. They have to be if they've been at it for hours. And Isabella's... you know how she is.
She's stubborn. I think that's a good thing. I want to believe she'll make it through because of that alone. I'm a mess, aren't I? One unfortunate incident, and I'm all ready to give up hope. Can't even keep myself together when nothing final has been said yet.
We all are. A mess, I mean, in more ways than one.
We let the silence fall and the words hang between us. Because the truth in those feelings, more tangible than what little hope we're both clinging to. Somewhere, far off the hall, I can almost hear the faint beeping of machines. Which one is Isabella's, I wonder? How is she doing? How long are we supposed to wait? Will she pull through? But it's always the waiting, ain't it? More than the fretting, it is always the long, excruciating hours that follows, blurring everything in between and slowing it down. By the point we've both drank through our third cup of coffee, we've already lost track of the seconds, the minutes we've spent sitting here. There's no idle chatter between us, only companionship and what little support we could give each other, which is not much, considering how long the two of us have known each other. Better for Ash to be here instead of me, or Isabella, if only she didn't have a different battle to fight right now. Then again, we won't be here if she ain't. When a door finally creaks open and a voice calls for us, none of the world shifts back into focus the way I'm expecting it would. It's Rebecca who handles it with much patience and tact, while I sit on the sides. It is her who faces the nurse, who listens to him, who nods, and wordlessly follows when he gestures for us to do so, in all spite of the weariness beating down on her. A different kind of burden now after that talk. I'm almost too afraid to ask. Achievement unlocked. Hang in there. Oh, she'd love this room. Zachary received an alarming phone call from Ashton, telling him to go to the Ermengarde Memorial Hospital immediately, and exhausted Rebecca informed him that Isabella got into a car accident. In a critical state, she had been put in an induced coma to keep her alive. Oh no. The moment the nurse opens the door and the soft late morning sunlight greets us from the sole window, I know she would. It might be a little inappropriate to think about it now, but if she's well, Isabella will say the same thing. She has, after all, always favored the son. Reminds her a little of home, she said. It reminds me a little of her, too, to be frank. In the background, the heart monitor blimps faintly in a steady rhythm. She's not an easy sight to see, covered in bandages, a thick cast on her leg and neck, with all these wires and tubes attached to her. She looks nothing but frail like this. And still, too still. She's never still, and yet here she is, her breathing too quiet for comfort, even as the ventilator pumps oxygen into her.
They have to keep monitoring her.
But she's okay now? We'll just have to wait?
Not exactly. She isn't out of the woods yet.
But alive, right? I mean, she's here. Even with all this stuff attached to her, she's gonna be fine, yeah?
She lets out a breath, probably the 13th one since I joined her here, and flops unceremoniously on a nearby chair. Carefully, she reaches up and gives Isabella's bandaged hand a light squeeze. I'm not sure if that's meant to be an encouragement for the patient or her. But for all of her hesitance, I'm glad it's Rebecca who has to break whatever this news is. If this is Ashton, he dropped that without any sort of preamble. For a detective looking to get answers, it works. For people waiting on the edge, it doesn't always.
I don't know. I honestly don't know anymore. The doctors, they had to put her in an induced coma. They had to after the seizures.
Seizures?
It wasn't looking good. Something about the trauma and the head injury from the accident did that.
Oh.
I know I should have listened better. I'm sorry, Zachary. Half of it didn't even sink in. All I understood was she's on life support now, but they aren't expecting her to make it. Her chances aren't good from the start.
Oh man, I feel so bad for making like the negative choices now, or the other paths, you know? This is horrible. I didn't think it was going to be this dramatic of a change. It's crazy.
They can't just say that. They don't know her. I'll talk to them. They'll see reason if I just...
I did, all right? Already did. I told them to get their asses together. Even made a promise to try.
But you mentioned they still have to monitor her. That means they haven't given up on her, right?
They haven't. I insisted. But with how things are, they said she might never wake up. And if she ever does, she might not be the same anymore. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I was angry when I told them that, and it just came out of my mouth. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should have just let them...
You did the right thing, Rebecca.
You don't know that. What if she doesn't want this? Do you see all of these? Wires and tubes and bandages everywhere. She's barely herself, clinging to dear life as it is. She can't even hear us. Doesn't even know there are people here worried sick for her.
The point is she's still here. Don't beat yourself up over what ifs. This ain't over for her, alright? I've seen people recover from even worse. Have some faith in her.
I do have faith in her.
You know what? I think this is just a lack of sleep talking. You been here since when? Last night? Go get some rest, Miss Gales.
Why is he calling her Miss? Miss Gales.
But Isabella's...
I'll take care of her, don't you worry. We can do shifts if you want. But go home first. We'll talk about that later when you ain't looking like you're about to fall apart. If you keep going like this, you're the one who'll end up here next.
The rebuttal I'm expecting from her for even suggesting the idea doesn't come. To my surprise, she merely chuckles.
This feels like a conversation I had with Isabella a few days ago. I said the exact same thing to her.
Then maybe it's a sign you should rest. Let me take over from now.
Maybe. But I'll keep that in mind. Are you sure you'll be fine alone? I'll come back this evening. So if you need anything picked up, I can get it for you.
Nah, no problem on that front. Besides, if I do need something, my apartment's just a few blocks away. Skip and a hop, that's all I need. Focus on getting some sleep. Let me take care of this for a few hours. Do it for everyone's sake,
Will do. Thanks, Zachary. If something changes with her, promise me you'll call.
You'll be the first one to know, ma'am. Well, if it comes to that. I hope the news I bring will be better than the one we got this morning. Crazy thing having to wake up to this.
I hope so too. I'll see you later.
Rebecca manages a weak smile before turning and heading out of the room. But when the door clicks shut behind her, it does so with little finality. Like saying this won't be the last, that our stay here won't be as brief as we're all hoping. Beside me, the beeping from the machines remains unceasing. The distinct, familiar scent pervading the room persists as it wraps itself into the room's only occupants. Altogether, a different memory burns itself in my mind. There is something personal in the melody slowly threading itself into my consciousness. A hum, pleasant in every note, lingers in the air and carries with every shift. It reminds me of our room, of a little place my sister and I once called home, and of a promise made several springs ago, back when our walls are bare and everything still foreign and new. The soft rustling wakes me long before I can fully remember. Someone is speaking in the room. Oh, why are we here at night, Zach? In hushed whispers, muttering words like a secret not meant for my ears to hear.
This is stupid.
Oh, Ashton's here. It takes a little while for the recognition to sink in and remind myself where I am. But sure enough, when I shift my gaze up, Ashton's there, leaning casually against the edge of the bed, arms folded across his chest, while sporting a pensive expression on his face. I'd say it's close to wistful, but this is Ash. And with the room's lights dimmed down, one really can't tell.
Hey, Ash.
If my sudden movement surprised him, it only shows in the slight lifting of his eyebrows before he acknowledges me with a small nod.
How long have you been here?
Just came in a few seconds ago.
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear you.
Figures. It's not a problem. You probably need to rest anyway.
You're the one talking. You look like shit.
So I've been told.
Seriously, how long have you been up?
18, 20 hours or so? It doesn't matter. I'll get some shut-eye later. Where's Rebecca?
I sent her home early, but she'll be back too.
Both of us turn just in time to see Rebecca ease the door open and step inside. She's brought a traveling bag with her, and from the way she transfers its load to her other hand, it's heavy enough with things for maybe 2 or so days worth of sleeping out. I don't know what to say to that, quite frankly, or if I'm even supposed to question her about it. Ashton, no doubt, has a remark or two about it, but before any of us could comment, she raises a hand to stop us.
It's not mine.
3 words, and they're all telling enough. Just like that, an awkward silence descends in the room. All of a sudden, just the mention of her has become some sort of taboo between us. Funny when she's just lying a few inches away from us. God knows if she's even aware of us. Even in this quiet, I can hear her laughing. We're making a big deal out of this, she'll say. It isn't anyone's fault, but it's obvious that one way or another, each of us hold our own selves responsible for what happened, however irrational that sounds. Plenty of what-ifs, should have, and could haves going around. It's almost stifling.
Always prepared, ain't you?
I just packed what she'll be needing for a few days. I figured it'll be easier for me to bring her things since I live next door. Go take a break now, Zachary. I'll stay with her until tomorrow when her aunt gets here. She's flying over from the other side of the country. Heard she had to file a leave to get here as soon as possible. Oh, what a mess all of this is.
Don't you have class tomorrow? You sure about that?
I can always call for a leave, too. I've got plenty, since I rarely ever use those. Someone has to stay here after...
No, I'll take it from here.
It's not that his offer is in any way unexpected. It is not even in the way he delivers it. Ash may seem distant to other people, rude to some, downright embarrassing to a few, but to those he keeps close, I'm positive he'll never hesitate to show some willingness to help. He cares, he really does, simply in his own unorthodox way. I'm sure Rebecca's aware of this too, more than anyone. But the tight expression on her face, her strained grip on the bag, and the stiff line of her shoulders suggest a different kind of understanding. Even in the sharp, biting tone her voice takes, despite the meaning in her words.
You don't have to do that. Zachary and I can handle this for a few days.
Both of you already had your turn with this. It wouldn't hurt to have another person helping out.
This isn't some sort of a competition, Ash. We're doing this because someone has to be here for her.
I'm not making this one. I just volunteered, didn't I?
Don't you have an investigation to finish?
And Zach has freelance gigs in line for the next few days. You have students to teach. Don't push it, Becca. All three of us have things to take care of on our own, but between us, it should be easier to find some time to...
Fine. Good.
Fine. Good. Her voice is almost too quiet, like the calm on the eve of a brewing storm.
Do what you want.
She doesn't give him a chance to get another word in. In 3 steps, she closes the distance between them and hands him the bag, with a little more force than necessary, in my opinion. Ugh! Why does she do that? Then, without nothing more than a sharp glare at him, she marches out the door. Maybe it's just me, but in the brief instance our eyes meet, hiding behind that flash of anger is... hurt. Did something happen when I wasn't looking? It certainly doesn't seem that way from the way Ash is acting.
You go ahead, Zach. I'll take over for now.
You sure this is fine?
Yeah, sure. It's not like this is a hard task. I'll probably get more sleep here than if I stay at the precinct or in my car. I'll call when something changes with Isabella, if that's what you're concerned about.
You ain't worried?
About what?
I'd say Rebecca, but he doesn't seem to have noticed earlier's exchange. Regardless, I'm not the kind of person who finds joy in prying, and it's certainly none of my business. On top of that, we have Isabella here, bedridden. Rebecca's right. It's one problem after another, and to be truthful, I kind of want to ask for a little breathing room already. But that ain't how it always goes, ain't it?
This, everything, the accident. I don't know. You tell me. You were there, weren't you?
That gives him a pause, his hand stopping short of placing the bag on the table. Judging by the conflicted look on his face, he doesn't know how to respond to that. Yet...
About this, I'll figure it out. Don't worry. I'll find out myself who did this and make sure that bastard gets his just desserts.
His just desserts? What? I'll find out... Well, let me replay that.
Don't worry. I'll find out myself who did this and make sure that bastard gets his just desserts.
His just desserts? What? Okay.
Hey, so you do have an idea who?
Vaguely, but nothing conclusive yet. I'd rather not say anything until we've got everything sorted out. It's a huge mess. This and that other case. It might even be related for all we know. Thinking about it gives me a headache.
What, he thinks Luke ran her over? He lifts a hand and pinches the bridge of his nose. His eyes are squeezed tight in what's perhaps a struggle not to overthink, or keep whatever frustration he feels at a considerable distance, preferably far enough so he can think clearly. When he's like this, it's better to leave him alone with his thoughts. But as I'm about to pull the door open, ready to take my leave, he calls out,
Do me a favor, Zach. Make sure you keep away from the rights this time. Tell Rebecca the same thing.
The name rings a bell, though at present I can't recall where I've heard it recently. Nevertheless, I nod, if only to give him some peace of mind. This guy already has enough on his plate.
I'll remember that. See you later.
If you catch up to Becca, make sure she gets home safe.
Will do. Go get some sleep yourself.
I throw him one last look, even though at this point I'm not sure what I'm searching for in his face. Reassurance? Some sort of encouragement or proof that everything will be all right? I won't dare ask anymore. Not when he's doing this, looking forlorn, like as if he's failed a lot of people. One person in particular. With one last wave, I close the door behind me, leaving wishes of hope and a whole slew of unspoken remorse and concerns in the room. Zach volunteered to watch over Isabella while Rebecca got some rest. That night, Ashton and Rebecca visited and ended up in an argument over who should take over the watch from Zach. In the end, Rebecca stormed out and left an insistent Ashton to it. My apartment is a more than welcome sight after everything. Although it's small and begs for a little cleaning and repair, it is, at the end of the day, the closest thing I have to a respite. Sure, my sister would have a thing or two to say about the mess every time she visits, but it's still home to me. A mild draft sweeps into the room as I close the door behind me, slightly disturbing the papers on the nearby fridge. Most of them schedules, lists, and tasks for the next few days. Something to keep me busy while I sort things out, sort myself out. And now, with what happened to Isabella, something to temporarily take my mind off things. A lone note flutters by my feet, the letters on the surface glaring at me with mute intensity. Ermengarde Mansion, H. Wright, 11 a.m. After Ashton's warnings, they all hold a different meaning now. Zach headed straight home after a long day. A photo shoot with Hannah Wright at the Ermengarde Mansion was on his schedule for tomorrow. After Ashton's warnings about the couple, he now felt anxious about the whole thing. October 27th, Thursday. Someone has to know. Show the photo to Hannah. And sometimes the only way out of this game is to be honest. I'm a friend of Hannah.
Sorry, sir. I was just...
Ah, that Zachary, the photographer. I remember now.
Uh-oh.
Just when you think she'd be careful meddling around media types these days, she makes friends with one.
It was really just small chit-chat, sir. The usual. To keep things entertaining.
How should I start the conversation? I think that one looks cute.
Well, I think that one looks cute.
Or paying the hospital a visit to check on Isabella in the morning. But with the expectant expression on Hannah's face alone, I wondered before how they got Isabella to sell them the mansion with all the paperwork and the loops it has to go through. Should I still show her the photos? Never mind. She should know. I really should tell her. I made that mistake with Isabella. Look where that got us. What other choice do I have? Ash? Rebecca? October 29th, Saturday. Oh! God dang it, I missed something. Hold on. The tremors follow me even as I get home. I had hoped a little stroll around the block for a few hours would help. Okay, so I know that the QTE is coming soon. Let's see, what is this? Tell the truth. I still have... What is this line? Oh, this is a completely different path. Cool. Look at this. We're doing it. We're doing it. But how do I get on this path? What was this? Question. Take a break. Now we're on this path. Oh no. We already did this path before. Okay, Okay. Where's that QTE at? Right here. This is gonna lead me down a different path. Okay. Alright, I don't think I need to do his QTE. I think I've already done it. Instead, I am assaulted with more images of her, her smile, the loathing in her eyes, the stench of gore, the horrid crunch that comes with every movement she makes. Even old memories have been sullied by her, and Ma's song no longer sounds as sweet as it's meant to be. In the end, all I got is a sinking feeling I will never be rid of her image, and another ridiculous idea that may or may not even work. The sun is already hanging low on the horizon when I make it back, and for the first time, coming home feels more like a chore. Only I didn't arrive to an empty room. Because as soon as I open the door, I am greeted by none other than...
Sup, Z-Man?
Oh, so he's by himself. This is new, okay. Whatever proverbial stone has made a home at the pit of my stomach automatically flies right out the window at the sight of Ashton. Sitting comfortably on my couch, munching on a bag of chips with both feet propped atop the coffee table. Common sense dictates I should throw him out. Any person of a right mind would. But like many other things I've gotten accustomed to, I simply take it all in stride. I never did bother turning him away the first time to begin with.
Ash, how many times do I have to tell you not to call me Z-Man? And stop breaking into my apartment! Call the cops on you, but doing that feels like a joke in itself because you are one.
I didn't. You gave me a key the last time I did that, remember?
After the last one you broke, I can't keep replacing the knob just because you think it'd be amusing to lockpick the hell out of it. And hey, is that my...
Ash smirks at me because, of course, he has the gall to smirk knowing what he did. He pops in what's very likely the last piece of chip into his mouth and folds the wrapper neatly on the table before throwing it on the nearby trash. Behind me, the television starts blaring the music for the end credits of a movie. He's likely been waiting for a while if he's gotten impatient enough to rummage through my cupboards and watch something.
You ate all of it! I was saving that one for the weekend!
I'll replace it.
What exactly is this about?
In an instant, he sits up, every trace of amusement gone from his face. He claps his hand in front of him and leans forward. A minuscule gesture meant to ease, yet the grim expression on him tells a different story altogether.
Has everything been alright with you lately? Anything odd?
You saw me last night at the housewarming party, Ash. Pretty sure I'm doing fine.
I'm not asking about that. Remember the letter thing Isabella's been yapping on about? I'm asking about that kind of odd.
I look at him. Gaped, more like. His serious expression doesn't waver despite the perplexed look I shoot him. There's a brief second I let pass as I wait for the heavens to fall somewhere. It doesn't come. The sky is still bathed in vibrant reddish hues as it waits for the night to arrive. Luxborn is still the same busy city, and everything in my room still appears as it did a second ago, including the unnerving ticking of my wall clock. But if Ashton, calm, cool, collected, always logical Ashton, takes interest in this, something or someone must have fucked shit up somewhere.
Well, the dreams, they're a lot worse than usual. There's a woman now, ever since we saw that letter. I don't know if it's the same one Isabella talked about. Maybe it is, maybe it ain't. I really don't want to go back to sleep sometimes. Last night was the worst. Anyway, why are you asking about this?
Becca's been saying weird things lately.
Weird like...
Same kind of weird Isabella says.
Alright, bro, stop right there. I thought you didn't believe in this stuff.
I still don't, but even Rebecca, out of all people, claims there's something. Whatever this is, someone has got to look into it. Everything about this screams shady.
Are you sure you even have the time? Ain't you busy with your current case?
I got taken off that one this morning.
Didn't you say you were getting closer to...
Apparently, the higher-ups think I'm doing a horrendous job at it. It doesn't matter, though. If these two cases are connected like I initially thought, then regardless, I'm on the right track.
So now I'm like really curious because now that Isabella's in a coma, when we get to Ashton's chapter, he has to go to BRC by himself, right? And when he goes to the mansion, Isabella's the one who saves him from Johannes. So who's gonna save him?
Have you seen the news this morning?
He grabs the remote and cycles through numerous channels until he gets to a news report about another guy who has been found dead in the early hours of the morning today. Burned alive this time. Oddly, no fire has spread and whatever damage has been contained within the place the body was found. The room itself, however, has been completely vandalized. Help me. Help me. Help me. Another murder, the authorities claimed. If only they knew.
You think this is...
I don't know what to think, Zach.
He rises from the chair and begins pacing the length of the room, lacing his fingers roughly through his hair.
I just know there's something. There must be. There has to be. Fuck!
Well, you do have something in mind, I'm sure. A plan? Come on, Ash, you're good with that.
I do! I'm just not sure if I'll get anything out of it.
Dang, why is he getting so angry?
Well, a plan is better than no plan at all, ain't it?
Almost too sudden, he swivels on his heel, and for a passing moment, I thought he's going to shout at me. Instead, Ash simply flops back down on the couch, crosses his arms over his face, and releases a long, ragged breath. His voice comes out smaller, closer to a whisper, when he speaks again.
I should have looked into this when she was still here. Maybe none of this would have happened if I did.
Ah, there it is. No need to ask who her is. Every should haves, could haves, and would haves. All of our frustrations in one statement, while all we can do is to cope. What should I say? Saving. Oh, I'm on the last page, I think. I can't go further. I'm gonna have to start saving over my very first choices in when I first started playing this. Make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else.
Rebecca and I are still here. And don't count Isabella out yet. No matter what the doctor said, I want to believe she'll pull through. We'll manage one way or another.
Don't make it sound so easy. We have no idea what we're dealing with here.
I ain't saying it will be, but we gotta do something, yeah? Make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else.
He grins. None of it reaches his eyes, but it's a start. We've got to start picking up the piece somewhere and hope everything will turn out for the better at some point. And Ash, well, frustrations aside, he's always preferred taking matters into his own hands. However, a little reminder there are other people with him won't hurt.
You have a point.
I always do. You just don't listen.
If he minds the bluntness in my words, he doesn't show it. But little by little, things begin to look up, if only for a short while. Ash leaves mere minutes close to sundown. He said little until then, not even a hint of what he's aiming to do after. While it ain't any of my business to know, his whole reticent attitude on the matter gnaws at me. At this hour, the streets are once again busy with people heading home after a hard day's work. Little of the bustle matters to him as he steps out of the crowded walkway, however. There's only his goal in his mind, and I'd wager there's nothing I can do to stop him at this point. He's probably decided on it long before he made the decision to stop by. But despite this, he lags behind.
What's wrong, Ash?
His mouth opens, then closes, but whatever he wants to say is lost in the clamor of traffic outside.
Is there something I can do?
No, just say where you are.
I can't do that. No can do, Ash. Ask me anything but that. No way in hell I'm gonna pretend there ain't a problem when there is. This is a really big one, and I'll be damned if I let anything happen to you guys while I sit here. I'm done running when things get tough.
What? You think you have a better plan?
Who knows if it's better? At least it's something.
If all this is going to do is put you in danger, then I'd rather you not do anything at all. I never want to wake up to that kind of thing again. Finding out one of my friends was left for dead in the middle of the street. One person is enough.
This is still better than having no other course of action, yeah?
He's about to argue for a moment, but...
Look, bro, if things ain't good, I'll be the first one out. But allow me this one thing, aight? Just this one time. If it doesn't work out, You'll be the first one to know. You can laugh then, or berate me all you want. But please don't ask me to step aside like I'm incapable of doing anything to help.
I have no idea if it's the look on my face or the tone of my voice. Ultimately, although his mouth presses into a thin line, he nods.
Do what you want. If you can check in with Rebecca, I'd appreciate it.
When he stumbles into the sidewalk and allows the afternoon crowd to swallow him whole, I'd like to think the tiny gleam in his eyes is the closest thing we can get to optimism in this situation. Upon returning to his apartment, Zachary was greeted by Ashton. Now suspicious of what's happening, Ashton informs Zach that he will try to get to the bottom of this. He also warns Zach not to act rashly. Whether that alone will be enough to give me a peaceful sleep tonight remains to be said. October 30th, Sunday. Though, if I'm going to be honest, it's not the night terrors that are keeping me wide awake tonight, but the anxiety and the hope I'll hear from Ash soon. And for what's perhaps the 42nd time, my eyes shift over to the end of the table where my phone lies still. I've not heard from him since he left. He hasn't promised a call, of course, but a small part of me wishes he would have the common sense at the very least. Waiting is a tough game, and with the concern stretching out the minutes far longer than usual, it's impossible for more unpleasant thoughts not to enter my mind. God dang it, that gets me every time. Ugh. Someone could be in danger. Keep looking for Ash. Last I heard him speak like that, a friend ended up fighting for her life in the hospital. Now she's still in a coma.
I'll be there in a few. An hour or two tops.
Marianne. Should I have them sex? I mean, Luke and Hannah are not going to be together this chapter. What's it going to be, Marianne? To sex or not to sex? Let's try it out. Nothing, never mind.
Nothing, never mind.
He doesn't like that, though. Alright. To hell with it. It doesn't matter. I'm just doing this for the exact same reason I brought a man home before and the one before that. I didn't care about any of them. They were all nothing. Less than nothing. We part for air, and he all but rips my belt off without even bothering to take off his own jacket. We somehow make it safely into my bed, and I don't even feel it as he pins me down. Achievement unlocked, godlike. Like, oh god, fuck me. I like it. Okay, oh god. Jeez. This isn't about pleasure. It is about punishment. There's nothing gentle about the kiss between us. It's all tongue, teeth, and roaming hands. There's no passion, only a need. I don't know about him, but I'm not doing this to feel good. I'm not some nymphomaniac who gets wet at the thought of bringing random strangers to my place for a lay. It's ridiculous how, under the professional facade I like to put up, I do these sordid things. If any of my clients can see the Marianne McCullough now, all boozed up and having rough sex with some bloke from the bar, well, that's none of their fucking business, really. But still, everything after is a drunken blur. Not that there's much to remember in the first place. These one-night stands were always the same, empty, meaningless sex. Flesh coming together, smelling of booze and sweat.
Mother of God, pray for us sinners.
Oh, jeez. I'm too busy trying to remember her hands touching during it all. I'm trying to remember her lips that kissed me. But how can I remember something that never happened? When all is said and done, all he has to say is...
You were saying something while we were at it. What were you mumbling?
It was a prayer.
Like...
Oh God, fuck me?
I like it.
Oh my god! Hold on, I'm gonna replay that. That was so funny.
Like...
Oh God, fuck me?
I like it.
Oh my god! Oh, that gave me like goosebumps. Oh my god. Oh wait, hold on, I just skipped something. No, it was a real prayer. A prayer for forgiveness. Because as I lie down in my bed while he gets up to leave, I can feel my sins crawling on my back like spiders, filling me with their venom. I feel an itch that made me want to scratch my skin until it bleeds, while my heart pounds in my ears. I can't even register what Whiskey says when he whispers his goodbye.
Thanks for the good time, Marianne.
Okay. How awkward. The mornings after are always the loneliest. Okay, which one was it? This one. Marianne and Whiskey went back to her condo after having one too many drinks. Despite having second thoughts, Marianne still slept with the stranger. Before leaving, he thanked her for the good time. Little did she know. Although that, I can simply brush off. I've already gone through several years of my life with only the fleeting company of others, always nothing permanent. After her, there never was. I'll live through this. The regret, though, it's the one that stays and weighs. But there is no time for self-pity. I have a job to get ready for. October 22nd, Saturday. October 24th, Monday. As if I had been burned, I push him away from me with a deep scowl on my face. Even his slightest touch makes me sick. And that smug smile on his face makes me want to come in contact with him, if only to break his nose with my fist.
Is that any way to say hello to a good friend?
We aren't friends. Let's get that straight first off, Mr. Right. Secondly, you're a married man, so that thing that happened shouldn't have happened.
Oh, come on. Don't tell me it wasn't even a little fun. A bit of a romp never hurt anybody.
No, it wasn't fun, and we shouldn't have done it. But since we did, let's pretend it didn't happen and never speak of it again.
I was drunk and had no self-control. Don't I get a free pass?
I really can't believe this guy. I have work to do, sir. I want nothing more than to punch the fucker and show him what for, but I have to remind myself to stay calm. No matter what I feel for this man, no matter how much I want to cuss him out and spew every profanity in the book, and then some, he is still my client. I don't imagine that knocking the block off one of the more influential persons of high society would go well in the rest of my usual clientele.
It doesn't matter. I have work to do. I'm here to do my job. And if Whiskey has any ounce of sense in him, he'll know not to bring up this matter.
He must have some sense, right?
Or else what? I can't take that statement seriously without one of those.
Apparently not.
Whiskey will know not to bring the matter up, or else he'll get what's coming to him.
No, still not convinced. You tried, I suppose. Plus points for that.
The dead air between us, because it can't be anything else but that, is broken as a lively voice calls out from the loft. A very spooked Marianne accidentally bumped into Luke Wright. Furious over his blatant dishonesty during their first encounter, she warned him not to mention what happened that night. Luke simply ignored her. Maybe I should go with more of Luke, since I got such a negative thing from sleeping with him. We can compromise. I really wish they didn't look at me like that. This is their decision to make. Ooh, it went down with Hannah. But if they want to ask for a professional's point of view, I'll be happy to give my 2 cents.
You can still have a garage.
See? Marianne agrees with me. Thank you.
But the structural integrity of the mansion might be at risk if we try to turn the dining hall or any of the rooms into a garage.
Garage.
Taking down one of the exterior walls might hit one of the support beams. And with a mansion that old, I'd rather not risk it, especially without closer inspection. There's always compromise, of course.
I suppose that's better than nothing. Better than flat out saying no.
Mrs. Wright does have a point. There's plenty of space for a garage outside of the mansion itself. If you'd like a covered parking space, we can arrange something on the grounds instead.
Then we better go there. I want to see where we can build a garage.
Yes, no time like the present. You want a thorough inspection? Might as well do it now. We actually took another look at the property yesterday, though it was brief. But I'm sure you would want to see it yourself, to spot anything we might have missed.
It's not like I have much of a choice, do I? Riding to the Ermengarde mansion in their rice is an awkward affair. The mansion's arrangements were discussed over breakfast. During the meeting, the Wright couple had an argument about the mansion's arrangements. In the end, they decided a visit will settle it. Which floor should I go first? Check the ground floor.
I'm still up for a shag, if that's what you're after. Pretty sure the wine cellar is soundproof if you fancy a snog and a poke.
I'm here on business, Mr. Wright. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, if you can let me pass, I need to inspect the music room as well.
I'm not looking for trouble, but trouble always seems to find me anyway. He leans against the door frame, crosses his arms, and plasters a huge grin on his face. The way he looked at me promises nothing good. But really, how big of a scumbag can one person be?
Oh, sure, you're some fancy interior designer. But mix in some booze and you really loose it up, don't you? Working woman by day, working girl by night.
Jesus.
I'm not. I'm no such thing. Don't you fucking dare continue down that line of thought.
Ooh.
I'm not what you suggest I am. I am not some whore you can just leer at and proposition. If anybody here is morally reprehensible, it's you cheating on your wife. And if you don't stop this harassment, I'll...
Tell the wife? Good luck with that.
You're terribly confident for a lecherous cheat.
Do you honestly think you're the first woman that threatens to go running to her claiming something or another about me? You think you're some special snowflake and that you're the first woman that I've slept with?
My hands shake. I have to remind myself that I would get nothing out of hitting him. Nothing but satisfaction, at least.
Tell her. But who will she believe? Her darling husband? Or the hired help? Oh, Buttercup, she's probably trying to make us pay up or she'll create a scandal. Stay quiet, you can go on with your life with no trouble.
Jeez.
And if I talk, even if your wife doesn't believe me, I can get people talking. What then?
Oh, people gossip all the time. It's hardly anything new. But still, if you talk, I will ruin you.
Jeez. The way he says it, promises it, makes my blood run cold.
Now, why don't you run along and do whatever silly job you have to do? I'll just be here in the music room if you change your mind about a shag.
Fucking asshole.
Scum of the earth he is. How could you just let him talk to you like that?
Okay, so forget about going into the music room then. That's fine. He'll have to go out there sooner or later. In the meantime, I can go around and check the rest of the house. October 26th, Wednesday. I really should... Hold on, I'm gonna save real quick. Move on. Is he jealous? Ask if he's alright.
Hey, are you alright there, Whiskey? You're looking like you need a serious drink.
At least I repaired my relationship with him. I didn't know it was gonna go down so dramatically just by sleeping with him. Jeez.
I take it the investigation isn't going well.
When does it ever? But that's not the problem. No, it's...
Is this about that hit and run from yesterday's morning news? I saw it.
I saw it.
I just didn't know if it was the same girl you're always groaning on about. But this just proves it, doesn't it? You don't have a drink.
She might never wake up, G. And we can't find the son of a bitch that thought it was alright just to leave her there in the road.
Can't you just run plates nowadays? I mean, I just got a ticket for a busted tail light the other day, and they were on that quicker than you can say Bob's your uncle.
The footage is a mess for some reason, and the tech guys are trying to clean it up. Which just skews me off, you know. Those things are HD traffic and security cams. They haven't failed before.
And you're thinking there's something foul afoot, is that it?
Their talk would have interested me, would have kept my attention if I gave a damn. But in my current state, I can barely give two fucks about the things going on around me.
How dare that sleazy wanker treat me like I'm a piece of furniture?
And by wanker, you mean Luke Wright.
Yes, Luke Wright. I just said that. Iskultona Kranthe.
What's that?
Completely different from his pretty wife. And Annie, Hannah. I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing something dirty behind her back. Even bought him a mansion. Lucky bastard.
So it was the wife who bought the place.
Are you going to repeat everything I say? Yes, it was the pretty one. The one with the long hair. She bought the place. Sort of.
With how drunk you are, I don't even know if you're aware or sure of what you're saying.
Excuse you? I am at least 350,000% sure that I know what I am saying. I am a professional. I'm totally sure of what I'm saying. Do you think just because I'm drunk I don't remember facts? I remember everything. I remember every little thing as if it only happened yesterday. I bet you don't remember Yangyang McGurn's full name.
Who's that?
Of course you don't. Here we go. John William, pure mad, mental inte, your body, Simpson Clay, Gimmel Chip, the Bam, Rib Racker, no real young rebel, ya best Saint John McGurn.
The hell?
See? I have a photographic memory. Or read memory. I don't remember which is which.
Back to the wanker. Nothing off about him or anything? Nothing shady that sets the alarm bells in your head?
Alarm bells. Nothing's ringing. Maybe someone's mobile is. I'm getting tired. Enough for me to press my cheek against the cool countertop with my eyes shut tight. Eventually, cracking one eye open, just in case they thought I fell asleep, I grin at Holmes.
Aside from being a sleazy piece of shit, he did get all in a tizzy whenever something about security came up.
Makes sense. I don't blame the guy. Place that big, you'll need a couple dozen people stationed around if you want to make sure nobody you don't want gets in. And the guy seems like the type that doesn't like too many people.
Oh, but he does like the ladies. I don't think his mummy hugged him enough or anything.
These are serious questions, Marianne. Lives might just be at stake here.
What do you expect? She's smashed.
Why am I even doing this? This is getting me nowhere, G.
October 28th, Friday. What should I do? Let's go in. Let's not kill off Marianne for this chapter. Rebecca. Sometimes my patience can only be tried for so long. This cold caught up with me.
And during the open house?
October 24th, Monday. It begins routinely enough. Immediately after I've read the news this morning, I called her. Offered to treat her to a free dinner to help take her mind off things, because knowing her, this might turn into another episode where she'll lock herself up in her room. It doesn't happen frequently. She's grown sensible, that much at least, but I might as well prevent it before we go down that road. The last time it did, less than 5 years ago, after the incident at Devlin Court, it took Ashton, of all people, to coax her out of her sulk. She isn't the one responsible for Miss Cooper's death, but this'll weigh on her regardless. After all, the woman was her mentor. It was only for a brief period years ago, and they never worked together again after, but she still feels like she owes the woman a up to this day. To my relief, she agreed, even promised she'll meet me at Sankaretti right after my classes. Though it's a bit odd of her to ask me to stay safe before suddenly cutting off our talk, everything's going swimmingly. What isn't part of the plan is her failing to turn up, leaving me waiting for hours.
Where the bloody hell is she?
4 hours from the time we agreed on, and still counting. Yet I received not a single call or text from her. This, after I took the courtesy and effort of sending her a message, telling her where I'm headed to when I had to leave the school. She could have done that too at least, and saved me the trouble of waiting.
She can be such a child sometimes. I swear, if she locked herself up in that room, she's not going to hear the end of this.
Glancing at my watch only stirs up my temper further. Almost closing time now. With the exception of a few still in line for some late-night coffee and a snack, or those simply finishing their food, the small crowd inside has started to thin out. Half of the normally bustling place is now empty, and the speakers have already stopped playing music seconds ago. Still, I wish they kept it going longer for a few more minutes. I can do with some relaxing music right now, especially with the pitying looks the manager and the one manning the cashier are giving me once I hit my second hour of waiting here. The former even offered me another cup for free after I drank through my second one earlier. Naturally, I'd appreciate the gesture. The woman has been nothing but kind to us in the times Isabella and I happened to catch her here. This time, however, they probably think my date stood me up or something, even if the reality falls far from it. Extremely far. Honestly, this is more like waiting for your child after school, if there's any comparison to make. Although, if it were Ashton, if we ever do go on a date, I doubt he'd ever do this. He may be an embarrassing friend to have for Zachary and Isabella, and has his odd moments, but he's definitely a reliable guy. Probably the only one I've had the chance of knowing this long, except for Zachary.
If he won't make it, I'm sure he'll at least have the decency to inform me beforehand.
Not that I'll ever have the courage to ask him, or anything of that sort happening anytime soon. I haven't even forgotten my poor attempt at a confession back in secondary. I wrote a short letter for him then, only for it to end up unread and hidden away someplace. I might have already lost it, in fact, after I moved out from home, along with that diary I used to religiously write on. But all of that's irrelevant and a wholly different matter from this. Besides, it's getting late. It's already quite obvious Isabella has no plans of ever showing up tonight, and if she thinks she's getting away from pulling such a stunt on me, she's got another thing coming for her. When I called her this morning, I genuinely believe she's better than that childish part of her, but this simply proves things otherwise, doesn't it? She should be thankful. It's only because of my own stubbornness and good faith in her that I stayed here beyond the bounds of what my own patience allows me.
And look where that got me.
I might as well leave now too. Considering the loud blaring of sirens passing by outside, getting home tonight might take longer, probably an accident. They rarely happen here in Luxbourne, but not entirely unheard of. Most of the time, it just results in heavy traffic and a few roads nearby being temporarily closed off. Judging from the direction the police mobile's headed to, and from where an ambulance came from earlier, it's in the same route I take.
Joy of joys.
Without delaying, I gather my things back in my bag, shoot a quick thanks at the cafe's personnel for allowing me to stay this long, and hastily leave the place. Hopefully, if I'm not too late and the side streets aren't too congested yet. However, no 2 steps out, my mobile rings all of a sudden, effectively stopping me in my tracks. I answer it without checking the screen, fully expecting to hear Isabella's string of apologies and excuses. A series of reprimands is already at the tip of my tongue. Friends or not, what she did is simply unacceptable. She needs to learn. She's 26, for goodness sake.
Isabella! I've been waiting for hours! Where the bloody fucking hell are you? We agreed on a time, didn't we? This isn't funny, you know?
But the one that responds on the other end isn't her voice. This one is deeper, almost out of breath, and talks with a bit of a hurried note.
Rebecca, it's me.
Oh, Ashton! Ash! Why are you calling me so suddenly? Do you need something?
Where are you right now? Salem Well?
No, but I'm about to head home. I was supposed to meet with Isabella after school. She never showed up, though. Why?
Ashton doesn't immediately answer, however. In place of his reply, I found myself focused instead on the noise coming from his side. People shouting orders from afar, a few curses flying off and about, and someone yelling at another poor bloke. There's also the low murmur of what appears to be a small group of people around him. Farther back, if I strain my ears, it's the din of car horns and vehicles driving past. He must have been assigned on another case, called to another crime scene, in the middle of the night at that. He'll probably end up spending time there until the investigations last, likely until tomorrow, without even getting any shut-eye or a short rest. My lips press tight at that, but I don't say anything. Any attempts to call him out on it before has resulted in an argument. The best I can do at the minute is keep these opinions to myself, no matter how much I disapprove of it, even if I'm not the only one who shares the same opinion. Even Zachary and Isabella has something to say about it. I'm simply the most vocal out of the three of us. That aside, none of those explain why he's calling me in the middle of his work.
Ash, are you still there? I'll be home soon. If this'll take time, just call my landline number. Give me about half an hour. I should be able to find a quicker route home, hopefully.
No, Becca, don't go home yet.
It's going to get late if I don't leave now, Ash. There seems to have been an accident along the route I take, too. I'm not sure, but I saw a couple of police mobiles rushing past a few minutes ago. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, do you?
Becca, about that, I need you to get yourself to the hospital.
Hospital? Right now? Why?
A hollow feeling suddenly creeps down to my stomach, despite having eaten dinner mere minutes ago. Ashton's hesitation doesn't help either. Whatever his reasons for calling, it can only be taken as unpleasant based solely on his tone.
Ash, is there a problem? Wait, it isn't you, is it? Did you get hurt or something? I told you to never make a joke about that. Please tell me this isn't one of those...
It's not for me. Calm down, Becca.
Well, why the sudden need for a hospital visit then? I sure as hell am not sick.
After all, you're like, oh, it's my cold, and this and that for when you've seen the ghost lady.
Who's it for?
Silence again. If this dilly-dallying is simply his reluctance, or he's just carefully measuring the weight of his next words, I can't tell. For all his good looks, he can be brutally blunt, even without putting a concerted effort on it. Within our small circle, unless we really have no other choice, no one ever trusts him with the task of delivering the bad news. And this is one, isn't it? Who put him up to this? The fact that he's dragging it out like this only increases my apprehension.
Ashton, if you're just going to hum and haw for the next 5 minutes, we're better off...
It's Isabella.
Come again?
Isabella. Scaredy cat. She's... Okay, listen up. You didn't hear this from me, and you're not the one who should have heard it first, but someone has to be there with her, and I can't.
Hold on. What exactly happened? I was just talking to her this morning. Now you're telling me she somehow ended up in a hospital?
Yeah, that accident you mentioned earlier. It's...
Bloody hell, Ashton, out with it!
Just a few hours ago, a car ran her over while she was crossing the street. I can't give the details yet. We're still checking on the cams, but the driver fled afterwards. She was left bleeding in the road.
All at once, as though the wind has been knocked out of me and remembering how to breathe becomes a whole different endeavor altogether. My hand makes its way over my mouth as I fight the tremors from gradually sweeping over me. Little by little, the memories of the last few hours rush back to me. her asking me to keep myself safe, my calls going unanswered for a long period, and the passing wails of an ambulance.
She was still breathing when the paramedics arrived, but I won't lie. Her condition's critical. Concussion, multiple fractures, and internal bleeding. They said she lost so much blood, and it'll be a miracle if she makes it through the night. Damn it, when I find the bastard who did this.
What about Zachary? Does he know already? Shouldn't we tell him about this too?
No, not yet. Don't tell him anything yet. Let's just keep the circle small for now. I don't want to alarm him. I'll tell him myself tomorrow, but I need you to hurry to the hospital. Can you do that for me? You're the only one I can trust with this right now.
Yeah, I'll be there. No problem. Don't worry about it.
All right, okay. That's one problem off the list. Thanks, Becca. I'll keep you updated with how things are on my side. I need to go.
He ends the call abruptly, without so much as a goodbye or a single reassurance everything will be okay. He doesn't know, none of us knows, and we can only hope, amidst the fading of sirens in the distance, like the very life quickly slipping away in front of us. When my body finally moves, despite trembling hands and knees threatening to buckle at any time, it's only the single-minded desperation to reach her that pushes me. Please, please hang in there. The whole ward is almost too quiet when I arrive. Isabella never showed up after agreeing to meet up with Rebecca for dinner. However, as Rebecca was about to head home, she received an alarming phone call from Ashton. Isabella's in a critical state and at Ermengarde Memorial Hospital after being involved in a car accident. No paramedics or nurses zooming past, no doctors in scrums blaring out orders, or even patients moaning and whimpering in the tri-aging area. She's already been taken to the trauma room according to the overhead announcements.
Attention please. Adult Tier 1 trauma alert. Please respond to the trauma center, shock room 4.
None of this is what I'm expecting, the lack of chaos. With the air so calm and unstirring, in spite of what's taking place beyond this waiting room, so unlike what they've often depicted in the telly. Although it'll be foolish of me to believe any of those shows. There may be some degree of accuracy in it, true, but it's all often done for the sake of entertainment and stirring up people's emotions. Yet, despite fully knowing that, I still crave for the noise, the commotion, the worried voices, or even the shouting. Anything, whatever that will temporarily take the edge off my nerves. Instead, much like everything today, all I get to have when a trauma nurse finally shows up is an impassive declaration of, "She's in critical condition, ma'am." Nothing I've not yet heard of from Ashton before. He doesn't spare me another word, not even a single explanation of what they're doing to Isabella. In the next minute, I'm being entrusted with her belongings, everything now smeared and reeking of fresh blood. Afterwards, it's back to that silence again, longer this time, with only glass doors occasionally whizzing, as well as the nearly wooden voice over the hospital's intercom for company.
Paging Dr. Nicholas Vogel to Lord William Ward. Shock room 4. Please report to Trauma Center Shock room 4 stat. Dr. Vogel, please.
But who am I to demand for more when in some part of this bloody emergency ward, Isabella's fighting for her life? In the end, no matter what my complaints are, what I want to hear or see, they're all useless here. I'm useless here.
Dr. Vogel, please report to the Trauma Center Shock room 4 stat.
All I can do is sit down and wait, go through every small motions to keep myself occupied, prevent my mind from thinking of every ugly scenario this might lead to. Because as stubborn, annoying, or childish as I regard her time and again, I
don't want to lose a friend to this.
Not in this manner. And it's that thought I hold firmly to. As the hours go by, as the halls grow quieter and everything around me turns dimmer, bleaker, it's what I cling on. Along with the small plea at the heart of it. A muttered prayer, desperate and earnest all at once.
I've never been the religious kind. I don't think I ever will identify as one. But if there's some other force, someone out there who can hear, please listen to me just this once.
Please don't take her away. Before long, sleep claims me, fraught with lasting images of blood and a single voice on a vain struggle with death. Thus, the waiting game begins. October 25th, Tuesday. The following morning arrives like any other day before it, bright and clear. As if the world hasn't completely tilted out of focus the night before, like nothing ever happened. It's good day by common standards, albeit one I can't fully appreciate. Maybe I would have, if it isn't the hospital's glaring fluorescence that greeted me first, or my eyes still aren't rough with sleep, or I've chosen a more comfortable place to doze off. Even better, if I've gotten a more pleasant news than what I've received after waiting for hours on end. But times like this, you simply take what you can get. It could have been worse. We could have easily lost her. The doctors and nurses said so. But by some bullheaded miracle, we didn't. What do you know? She's actually found some use for her stubbornness. If she survives this, it seems this will be the last time I'll rail on her about that. It might have saved her after all. They had to induce coma, yes. It may not be what we wanted, but it sure as hell isn't the end for her, and that's enough. That's good enough. We can work from there. At least, like this, we know. In her own little way, Isabel is still fighting, and hoping isn't such a futile thing for us. Zachary thinks so. Unlike me, he never falters, not even once since he arrived and joined me in my vigil. Even when the uncertainty starts to have its sway on me, all he has for me are reassurances.
You did the right thing, Rebecca.
You don't know that. What if she doesn't want this? Do you see all of these? Wires and tubes and bandages everywhere. She's barely herself, clinging to dear life as it is. She can't even hear us. Doesn't even know there are people here worried sick for her.
The point is she's still here. Don't beat yourself up over what ifs. This ain't over for her, aight? I've seen people recover from even worse. Have some faith in her.
I do have faith in her.
You know what? I think this is just a lack of sleep talking. You been here since when? Last night? Go get some rest, Miss Gales.
But Isabella's...
I'll take care of her, don't you worry. We can do shifts if you want. But go home first. We'll talk about that later when you ain't looking like you're about to fall apart. If you keep going like this, you're the one who'll end up here next.
I don't know if it's the optimism in his tone that did it. But at his words, regardless of the mood around us, some of the exhaustion finally lifts, enough for a soft chuckle to slip out from me. How odd. Out of all people, Zachary's the last person I ever expect to get a pick-me-up from. After all, we never been particularly close. At best, we're good friends. We talk, we laugh when the situation calls for it, but admittedly, none of those will ever occur if Ashton or Isabella aren't there. It's not entirely uncomfortable, but awkward nevertheless. We simply can't seem to find something to talk about without those two to drive the conversation. Still, here he is, in spite of that gap or whatever dark cloud hanging above his head lately. I can't possibly reject his offer knowing that, can I?
This feels like a conversation I had with Isabella a few days ago. I said the exact same thing to her.
Then maybe it's a sign you should rest. Let me take over from now.
Maybe. But I'll keep that in mind. Are you sure you'll be fine alone? I'll come back this evening. So if you need anything picked up, I can get it for you.
Nah, no problem on that front. Besides, if I do need something, my apartment's just a few blocks away. Skip and a hop, that's all I need. Focus on getting some sleep. Let me take care of this for a few hours. Do it for everyone's sake,
Will do. Thanks, Zachary. If something changes with her, promise me you'll call.
You'll be the first one to know, ma'am. Well, if it comes to that. I hope the news I bring will be better than the one we got this morning. Crazy thing having to wake up to this.
I hope so too. I'll see you later.
I give him a smile before leaving. Frankly, it's a weak and half-hearted attempt at encouragement, and whether it's intended to be for me or for him, I don't linger over it. At the end of the day, we both need any little strength we can muster and extend between us, in whatever form those may choose to come. The door closes behind me with a soft click, at last muffling the ceaseless beeping from the machines. But I know this isn't the last time I'll be hearing those. A wholly different atmosphere meets me when I step out the hallway. Sterile, placid, along with this sharp, bitter air dangling oppressively above my head as I make my way out of the ward. It stands at the stark contrast to the room I came from only seconds ago. With the whole place like this, Zachary's passing remark about Isabella's years ago rings truer. He's right. There has always been this certain warmth she carries around her wherever she goes. The sunny, sprightly kind reminds you a little of home and those childhood memories so often forgotten, something I both envy and ignore in her, to the point of taking it for granted. But in spite of the circumstances she's trapped in now, it remains with her in that room. And leaving it is like a douse of cold water. Every thought, every responsibility, every worry I've set aside last night returns to me tenfold. Someone has to inform BRC. Then there's also her aunt who works in another country. She needs to know as well. Her family in the Philippines too. And though he never asked for it, I'm sure Ashton will also appreciate any news on her condition.
Bloody hell. This is supposed to be easy.
Call and deliver the news, as simple as that. Offer small soothing words, if need be, no matter how meaningless or how flat they fall in the other's ears. Yet my hand wavers. The moment I pull my phone out, my whole body freezes. I stop in my tracks while my thumb hovers uselessly over the names on the screen. Her aunt, her mom, Ashton. The letters on it flicker brightly, almost accusingly, at my stalling. How would they react? How would her family feel hearing this from someone they've never even met before? How do I tell them? What do I say? There are a million ways this can go, none of them pleasant, all of them out of my control.
But I can't simply pawn this off on someone else, can I?
Even before I agreed to be her emergency contact, I've always known the responsibilities that come with being named one. At a young age, I already did, and Isabella's trust goes as far as to put me in that list. If that doesn't say what she thinks of this little friendship, I don't know what else will. And now I balk at it?
That simply isn't how the Scotswoman in my blood does things.
So before I lose the sudden resolve or stumble back into another cycle of negative thoughts, I press down on the call button. Ashton first. I'll think about how I'll deal with the others later. Although I still have no clue how I'll open the topic, the news is still a far cry from a good one, but with him, I won't have to worry how to best phrase it. Word choice and turn of phrase notwithstanding, ultimately, this will all just sound like an update on the situation for him. When he finally answers, however, a certain tightness in his voice makes me pause. Hoarser, rougher than I remember, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out he hasn't gotten any sleep yet.
Becca? Didn't I tell you not to call around this hour unless it's urgent?
I remember, sorry. Don't worry, this'll be quick. It isn't urgent, but I thought you should... You deserve to know about this as soon as possible.
Can it wait? At least until lunch?
It can, but I'm about to...
Rebecca, I'm in the middle of something right now. I can't really talk over the phone. I'll just call you back.
The shuffling of papers follow his dismissive note. He hasn't dropped the call yet, but his impatience and inattentiveness are clear. There's no need to guess. I can almost see it. The small scowl over his features, the way he reaches up with a hand to pinch the bridge of his nose when he can't figure something out. He's always doing that. His quick, sharp movements while he checks and reads through everything with an enormous focus. Generally, I'd ignore it. I called him for an entirely different reason. Even so, the sudden nonchalance irks. Maybe it has to do with his own exhaustion. Without a doubt, he's been at this since his call last night. That part I understand. Still, would it hurt him to pause and ask for a minute? Do I always have to spell it out for him? Or maybe it's time we stop beating around the bush. How's the investigation going? Oh, wait. I need to make the relationship bad. I forgot. Okay, aren't you gonna ask about her? Yeah, do it. It spills out of my mouth before I can think on it twice or pick a better set of words, in a low voice without the anger, but brimming with a quiet accusation. Later, I'll blame it all on this fatigue, but in the minute, I simply let everything loose. More for his sake than mine.
Aren't you even going to ask about her? How she's doing?
The rustling from his side abruptly stops. All of a sudden, a silence sweeps over him, but this is neither him mulling over how to best articulate his answers, nor waiting for me to say more. This is how he evades, how he skirts around truths he's not ready to brave. A final defense of sorts, and a quick rebuilding of walls coming apart at the seams. Though his pause doesn't really last long enough to hold, and when he regains his bearings, the shuffling returns with it, more urgent, stiffer than his actions earlier. A heavy exhale follows at its heels. My words have been thoughtfully ignored before he even responds.
I don't have time to worry about other things right now.
Ashton, your friend is in the hospital, not some random stranger.
You think I don't know that? I saw it with my own eyes. I saw it when they hauled her up in that ambulance last night. I'm pretty sure I'm the last person you should be telling that to.
Look, I know you couldn't give a shite about people outside of this little circle of yours, but this is someone you've known for years.
And your point is?
My point is, you could have spared a little of your precious detective time to check on us, instead of brushing us off at the first chance you get. Even Zachary went all the way here when he could have just called.
Rebecca, you know I can't be there while I'm trying to figure out what happened here. I can't just leave in the middle of things. I told you that last night.
At least try to show some concern.
I am concerned.
Well, you certainly don't sound like it.
How am I supposed to sound then? Royally pissed? In tears? Rebecca, if you're expecting me to cry over this, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Why don't you try a little harder than that? Maybe then it'll be easier to believe you.
Oh, what do you think I'm doing? Why do you think I'm still out here, trying to find the godforsaken asshole who did that to her? That isn't concern to you?
I don't know, you tell me.
Jeez, they get so angry at each other. Like when I choose the negative choices, like they freaking flip out.
Better yet, why don't you tell that to Isabella if she ever wakes up?
I don't bother waiting if he'll reply to that. A swift swipe of my thumb over the mobile screen brings a curt end to the conversation, if you can still call it one. But I know him. He may not be the type to hang up on anyone once a discussion goes sour or turns against his favor, but he'll end up dragging this out until every argument has been said. We both will. We're both headstrong like that. Besides, there's really no point to bickering further. I've already said what I wanted to say. Although, with how tactfully phrased it was, I don't see any hope of it having an effect, or him ever showing up here. I don't expect him to. It'll just be Zachary and I on this until he pulls that stick out of his behind. Coward. If I have enough mental capacity to take this on right now, I'll gladly do so, just to get everything over with. But the way things are, and I am now, I'll only end up doing more harm than good, both to myself and those around me. Besides, the more pressing matter is getting out of this place. Because when I look up from my phone and finally take in my surroundings, only an unfamiliar hallway greets me. Brightly lit as any other corridor here, though oddly void of people and the usual hospital clamor. No voices announcing over the intercom, no beeping from machines inside the rooms, not even a single patient waiting or the occasional doctor or nurse on their rounds. I must have taken a wrong turn somewhere while I'm busy worrying about those phone calls earlier. That ought to teach me something.
Of all the places to get lost at.
I've never thought much of hospitals before. They're a necessity. Walking alone in a deserted area inside one, however, with the walls coming off too white, too clean in my eyes, and perhaps even too dull, I can't help but feel a bit queasy about it. A heavy, unsettling feeling lands on my stomach. It's a bit unnerving, but far more agreeable than the sensation of being watched I've been enduring these past few days. And I know I shouldn't do this here, but...
Hello? Anyone here?
What's gonna happen? Faint footsteps and a murmur of voices echo from somewhere. Still, no one responds to my call. It merely bounces off the walls before dwindling until I have for company is the sound of my footsteps. Admittedly, this is a little disconcerting, but for now, I let the distant noise guide me as I walk along the empty corridor, looking for that exit that'll lead me back to the main lobby or anyone I can ask for directions. A good minute passes, and another. I'm about to turn around and retrace my steps instead when... What's happening? The sound of it makes me halt. It's a little muffled and infrequent, but grows louder after each passing second. With the hallway devoid of people, I don't have to strain my ears to pinpoint where it's coming from. Not too far ahead, in fact. Just past the sharp turn at the end of this corridor. And clearly, it's the voice of a child.
Who are you, Mother?
On a normal day, I won't concern myself with this, considering where I am. Hundreds come and go here every day, whatever business they have here. Whether they arrived in tears or not, I've got nothing to do with it, and vice versa. Personally, I don't think a stranger's worry would do much when there are nurses and doctors already attending to them. But that also begs the question why a child is here crying. Possibly on her own. Did she happen to wander here like I did? If so, I can't just very well leave her here, can I? I can't even find my own way out. What more if it's a child? Well, I want to see where we are on the branching tree. Wow, what did this do? Did this end up because how do I get to this one? Huh. Question. Ooh, I'm on this path. Alright, okay. Though I'm quite sure the hospital's a safe place, and the roaming staff will eventually find her, who knows what else might happen if I just leave her here.
Mother, please. I don't want to be alone.
In any case, I don't have the heart to turn my back on this, not when this kid's just a few meters away from me. I might as well check on her, make their job easy, and bring her with me to the lobby where her parents can easily find her. It's not totally out of the way. So, gingerly, I seek her out. Taking light, mindful steps as I approach where her sobs are coming from, hoping not to startle her. My caution, however, is ineffectual. The closer I get, the more frantic her sobs become. I try to ease her fears by calling out to her, but...
Hey! Hello there? Can you hear me? Mother, please! She's here! She's here, Mother! She's going to take me! I'm not going to hurt you. Are you lost?
It's a ghost. That's the same thing that Lady Charlotte was saying in the room when Ashton went into the mansion and she was in the attic crying.
She won't leave, Mother. I'm heading back to the lobby. Do you want to come with me? Your mom could easily find you if we go there. Mother, I don't want to go with her. Tell her to go away. All right. Why don't we just find someone who can...
Suddenly, she cries out, and in a flash, her stifled sobs grow louder and more violent, fraught with fear and dread. It doesn't take too long for a little fact to register. I'm not the one she's talking to from the beginning. Whoever it is, she doesn't want the person with her in there.
Mother, she's here!
Ah!
Help!
That scared me. Jesus, what was that? Hold on, can I replay that?
Mother, she's here! Help!
I heard something else in there. It freaked me out. I don't think twice. With all the haste I can gather, despite the weariness in my bones, I break into a run before panic sets in. Damn my own safety, but if something happens to that kid, not more than a few hours after Isabella's accident at that, I won't forgive myself. I may not have been able to do anything for Belle, but this one's right in front of me.
She's going to hurt me! Help me!
I won't just sit this one out like a useless person. Another scream ripples through the air as I near the bend. However, this time her sobs die down along with it. A wave of cold creeps through my body as the entire corridor goes wholly silent. Quiet has never been a good thing in situations like this. In 3 more steps, I make it around the corner, bag ready in my hand, only to be greeted by a wall the moment I turn into the adjoining hall. A dead end. It takes me a few slow moments to take it all in, despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. No sign of the girl or whoever's with her. Just an empty alcove and a single painting sitting on a bare wall.
Where did they...
A quick scan of the area reveals nothing, not even a hint of a scuffle. The only way out of here would have been the sliding door standing adjacent to me, but even that looks untouched, bolted shut to boot. The corridor I've just passed through seems to be the only way to get here apart from that door. I would have met them if they tried to leave. I'm far from having Ashton's keen observation, but that certainly didn't sound like a simple tantrum you can shove under the rug and forget about. Anyone making a desperate cry like that would have left things in disarray.
Especially a child.
Yet, I'm the one who's standing here, in the presence of a painting that looks to be mocking me and the absurdity of my actions. Although, to be fair, the real Lady Charlotte Ermengarde probably won't be doing any of that sort. Local history has constantly written and spoken of the woman fondly, endeared to everyone, much like her parents. The beloved child and heir, up until she took her own life. A pity, but that's a lesson for another day. Above my worries over what I heard in finding that child, I've yet to find a proper way out of here. Thankfully, I don't have to fret over it longer. Soon, another voice calls out from the opposite end of the hall, one of the custodial staff, from what little I could glean of his uniform at this distance. He doesn't bother hiding the annoyance in his tone. From the sound of it, this doesn't appear to be the first time someone unconsciously ended up here.
You there! What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I think I took a wrong turn somewhere.
Well, wherever it is you want to go, it isn't there.
I'm really sorry. I heard someone crying here and I thought...
Lady, this place is off limits to the public. Has been since a month ago. Closed off for renovations. Didn't you see the signs back there? Next time, learn to read.
It won't happen again.
Whatever. Get out of here, lady. Exit's back there, second turn on your right. Don't let me catch you here again.
Strange, though. He doesn't wait around for me to leave and walks off after saying his piece. I'm not certain if it's because he's simply tired of having to fend off unauthorized personnel from roaming in here, or he's just gotten to the point that he no longer cares anymore. Shaking my head, I step back from the alcove and prepare to head out, but not before taking a glance at it again. I'm not even sure anymore what I'm expecting to see before me.
Must be the wind.
Must be! So without another look, I leave it alone. Ah! Ah! What the fuck, bro? That is so creepy. Hell no. Oh my god. Hell no. No. Oh, that was fucked up, bro. I did not like that. Coming home feels like a lame attempt at normalcy. Oh my god, that was so creepy. After leaving Isabella in Zachary's care, Rebecca informed Ashton about Isabella's current condition and asked for updates about the case. However, the two ended up in a heated argument. On her way out of the hospital, she overheard a girl crying, looking for her mother. A false return to it. Although what surprises me more is how easily falling back into my usual routine is after I forcibly tucked all my worries away. For the rest of the afternoon, against what I've told Zachary before leaving, I busied myself with every unimportant, mindless task I can get a hold of. What can I do? Sleep simply isn't that easy to come by at the moment. By the time the sun sits well over the horizon, much of the work I've got scheduled today has been finished. All that's left for me to deal with is the mail. Even Isabella's family has given notice of the accident, regardless of how I felt about doing so this morning. It didn't take too much effort, actually. The words I've been turning around my head, the same ones I've been dreading to deliver, have long since lost their meaning after that little call with Ashton. Now they're just phrases, syllables, meaning nothing. Her mom took it well, in spite of that, but there's more to the unruffled reaction she gave. It's one thing she doesn't let show.
So very much like Isabella.
Is it because of the kind of life she has back home? Not that I'll ever fully understand. I'm my parents' only child. We aren't well off, but so far I've lived a relatively easy life. I didn't have to think about bills or food for the next day, or paying for my siblings' tuition on top of my own, or supporting a sick father's medication. All I have to worry about were my grades, if it'd gain Mom and Da's approval, or what we'd be having for dinner. When put next to hers, they all pale in comparison. They look less like problems and more like petty issues this way.
Petty issues.
But as unimportant as it all sounds, sometimes its ugly head rears at the most inappropriate moments. And sometimes they come through your mailbox in the form of a fancy-looking letter, pretty ribbons and all. 4 hours later, I'm heading back out after a short nap, ready and dressed for a different waiting game at the hospital. An empty traveling bag dangles freely in my hands as I head straight for Isabella's room first, unlocking the door with a copy of the key. She lent it years ago after I complained about the mess and offered my help in cleaning up. I thought the gesture was completely unnecessary back then. After all, I could always knock. But she never did bother taking them from me, always returning it or turning away from the conversation whenever I insist. At one point, I've simply stopped trying to hand it back to her. Who would have thought I'd be using it for this purpose?
Isabella, I'm coming into your flat, all right? Your aunt asked me to bring you a few of your things.
Why is she talking to herself? Isabella's in the hospital, Rebecca.
Don't worry. I won't touch that thing you've been hiding under your bed.
What is she hiding underneath her bed? Laughable, this vain attempt at courtesy when there are no ears on the other side to listen to them. So without waiting for the answer she's not here to give, I push the door open and step inside. Her unit's still a mess. Instant noodle cups on the table, a pile of clothes on one side, papers strewn about everywhere, and an unkept bed, among other things. This much is a given, will always be a given. I've been here several times already, and I still wonder how she can function like a human being with the place in this state. She didn't even bother turning off her telly last night before leaving. Now it's filling the room with even more depressing news.
The authorities are still trying to find the cause of death for all the victims. Early investigation revealed most of them were employed under Briar Realty Corporation at the time of death. Meanwhile, BRC has refused to comment on this.
Sighing, I reach for the remote to turn it off. No more of that. We've got plenty of negativity going around us right now. Besides, she'll definitely complain about the electric bill if I just leave it, even if it's entirely her fault. However, that's neither here nor there. This little detour isn't for this. It's for her aunt. A little request from her if we can bring a few of Isabella's stuff. Belle's aunt. Hi, thanks for letting me know about this. I'll be by in a few days. Just need to sort things out with my work. If it won't be too much to ask, could you bring a few of her stuff to the hospital? Only for 2 or 3 days, so I can head straight there. Thanks. Just for the 2 or 3 days, to make caring for her easier once she takes over from us. She doesn't elaborate much. The message itself is short and direct, no mention of the accident or even Isabella's name. But the mere lack of it holds enough gravity. It speaks of the things we all dread facing in the next few days and little truths we'll have to ease into after. Both of us know this isn't a one-day thing. It may last weeks, months, bloody hell. Some even continue on for years. Thinking of those numbers alone drains the optimism out of me, but I refuse to wallow on them. Think of what Zachary said instead. He's right. He has a point we've all known about her years ago. She's stubborn.
And she might make it through because of it.
The odds are, so to speak, astronomical. But she's beaten worse before. She might not even need that miracle the doctor so blatantly told us to avoid hoping for. If she tries hard enough, she'll probably win over this with willpower and nothing else. If that ever happens, as unsightly as it may me seem, I will laugh at their faces. Just imagining how it might go brings a smile to my face for the first time. Somehow it calms, and the whole task of packing what little essentials she might need becomes less of a chore. In less than a half an hour, I'm done. Before leaving, I spare Isabella's room one last glance, disturbingly quiet now without her in it. I'll get a chance to scold her for this mess later. Then we'll argue about it like we often do, like normal. But for the moment, my concerns are best left here. She doesn't need those right now. Even before, it never crossed my mind I'd ever feel apprehension over a hospital visit. Back at Samwell, Rebecca Gills received a housewarming invitation addressed to her parents. After informing them about it and getting some rest, she visited Isabella's apartment to pack the clothes and other things they need at the hospital. No one in my family has experienced illness to warrant an overnight vigil. And when a relative did pass away here some years ago, I was still all too young to commit the details to memory. I recall the tears, but the emotion simply felt too distant to stick. In truth, everything I remember of hospitals are the bright lights, the cozy private rooms, and the doctor's tender smiles.
Until last night.
Now the lights glare, shining far too brightly, intensely against my eyes. The smile from the on-duty nurse founders under every single uncertainty. The room at the end of this ward looms forebodingly ahead of me. This being the second day has thankfully dulled the edge to that. Somewhat. There's still the voice at the back of my mind, whispering, expecting the worst, while hoping to all that is good in the world that I don't find an empty bed and an equally graver news upon my return. But I push these all down as far as I can the minute I near her room. It won't do for Zachary to see me this way. He'll send me back home for sure. The latter won't do either. I'm not going to let him, when all the help we can get will only be between the two of us until our aunt arrives. After that call with Ashton, counting on him to show his stupid mug here sits right next to hopeless. He's probably still out there playing his equally stupid detective game. I know he's just doing his job, but he didn't have to put it that way. What exactly is there to avoid here? He's so willing to face everything head on, but this? How absurd. Regardless, whatever the answers to those will have to wait along with many others as I give the door to Isabella's room a mild push.
Hey, scaredy cat?
My hand stills. My whole body freezes, stopping me almost a hair's breadth from fully opening the door.
Ash?
A frown soon follows my confusion. Aww. There, settled on the edge of the bed, is the last person I've expected to see here, no mere seconds ago, sitting almost too comfortably at that, with a small smile gracing his face. As if last night's events haven't taken a huge toll on him. But it's obvious. His fatigue is there, in the tired lilt in his voice, the detached look in his eyes, and the manner his shoulders droop. He's barely keeping himself together. Just looking at him right now makes me regret ever shouting those words at him this morning. Anger can be a delicate thing to hold. An apology immediately forms in my head, already at the tip of my tongue, although before I can even string 2 words together, he continues. He has yet to notice my presence, and I've yet to make myself known. But somehow, something in the way he speaks next prevents me from doing so, despite the casual note he takes. Something anyone, including me, isn't supposed to ever hear from him. Something deeply personal.
Really, how long are you planning to stay like that? You've been criticizing my sleeping habits, yet look what you're doing. I hope you know Zach and Rebecca are already losing sleep over this.
Ashton pauses, holding the moment, allowing his words to seep into the air. He means that as a reprimand, or I assume he does. It sounds like one from the way he has phrased it. Yet the tone in his voice betrays their very essence, and not long into that silence, he chuckles. Low, close to breathless, and if I listen closely, I'd say there might have been a hint of a long-held fondness in it.
But this is how you've always been, isn't it? Clumsy. Careless. A scatterbrain and a crybaby.
Scatterbrain.
Always getting in trouble. Always getting us in trouble.
He trails off. Another pause. Another held breath. Then he sighs.
Always making me worry.
And with it, the air inexplicably shifts to something gentler. Words, dude. God. Warmer. A quiet little thing filling the room that neither seeks to stifle nor confine. Instead, it only lingers in the silence, bearing simple truths no mere words or grand gestures can express. When he finally chooses to break it, he does so with all the care in the world. Softly, in hushed tones, fragile in itself.
But those things...
Because sometimes, all it needs is not a thunderous declaration, but a single fleeting second of small smiles, tender touches, and sincere honesty.
Those things... I love those.
Achievement unlocked, a truth long held. I'm unlocking achievements.
In everything. Everything that's you.
Here, in this room, amidst the faint whir of machines and the soft moonlight streaming from the windows. In this little space, those words roar louder than the briefest of sighs, and that lone second forms a memory. One he'll probably keep even after this moment fades with time. One I'm intruding on, never meant for my eyes or see or my ears to hear. The prayer that comes at the end of it is never for me to behold either.
This place feels a whole lot emptier without you. So please, if you can somehow hear me, come back.
But I can't bring myself to turn away. Even as silence once again sweeps into the room, and only the beeping of the machine remains. Even as he, himself, cowers under what everything he said stands for.
This is stupid.
Because I understand, with the most painful clarity, the other truth the scene proffers. What the tiny gleam in Ashton's eyes, his darting glances, and his kind smiles convey. Little things, little gestures. To others, it may seem nothing, but to him, it means the whole world, because it's the only way he can say everything without fumbling or losing his nerves. Right from the very start. I know. I've always had an inkling. The thought has always been there. hiding, tucked, and neatly sealed away at the back of my mind, in the same manner he keeps his own secrets close to himself. Which is why there's no jolt in me, no surprise. Just the slow, aching, burning realization of a truth long held. Of feelings never meant to be for me. And yet, in the end, a flash of anger still surges within me. Upon returning to the hospital, Rebecca found Ashton inside the room, the last person she expected to see sitting by Isabella's bedside. As she was about to head in, she overheard a conversation never meant for her ears. It clenches, pierces, leaving my heart torn and numb, draining every color and noise from the world around me. The bag in my hand hangs weightless in my hand as the magnitude of those words gradually closes in on me. You didn't want to hear this. You didn't want to see this. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't have gone here. But before I can move and force my feet to take the first few steps to save myself, Zachary's voice echoes from the room, deep and still rough with what's apparently sleep. Utterly clueless of what has just transpired only minutes ago. How I wish I can be as oblivious to it as him right now.
Hey, Ash.
Everything snaps back into place at its sound, and the veil lifts from my mind. All of my reasons for being here rushes back to me along with it, no longer held by that familiar, bitter feeling slowly consuming my thoughts. But it's still there, coiled in a tight knot in my chest, simply waiting for another chance to unfurl itself.
How long have you been here?
Just came in a few seconds ago.
Lies.
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear you.
Figures. It's not a problem. You probably need to rest anyway.
You're the one talking. You look like shit.
So I've been told.
Seriously, how long have you been up?
18, 20 hours or so? It doesn't matter. I'll get some shut-eye later. Where's Rebecca?
Funny how he remembers me now. Not a few moments ago, he's unknowingly taken that one little thing I hold dear and allowed the burden of his bloody sentiments to crush it. After all these years, I'm the one that becomes the afterthought. But I take this mention of my name as a cue to compose myself and hide all of these somewhere safe, preferably somewhere no one else will find. Just like how it has always been. Ultimately, this isn't what I came here for.
I sent her home early, but she'll be back too.
At the light rap I give the door, Zachary breaks off mid-sentence at once. Their eyes are on me when I slide into the room, though their attention doesn't really stay. Soon, the bag I'm carrying catches their eye, and they're both shooting me bewildered looks. Zachary, in particular, appears about to say something, but he can't quite place how he'll articulate it. A swift glance at Ashton tells me the same thing, though the question in his eyes come off more passive, muted. I raise a hand at them before they can say something about it.
It's not mine.
The light mood changes as soon as I've finished. They know. I don't have to spell it out for them. I don't think they want me to, when that's realities just lying a few inches away from us. Either way, the atmosphere doesn't last. The world isn't done rendering my heart useless as it turns out. Even Zachary, clueless as he is, gapes at me with a worried crease on his forehead. He has the right to be. The bitter tone my voice takes once the conversation turns elsewhere surprises me too.
No, I'll take it from here.
You don't have to do that. Zachary and I can handle this for a few days.
Both of you already had your turn with this. It wouldn't hurt to have another person helping out.
This isn't some sort of a competition, Ash. We're doing this because someone has to be here for her.
I'm not making this one. I just volunteered, didn't I?
Despite knowing Ashton only means well with his offer, hearing it directly from him, seeing him throw his affections around as if no one knows, it stings. It burns.
Don't you have an investigation to finish?
And Zach has freelance gigs in line for the next few days. You have students to teach. Don't push it, Becca.
Yet, when all is said and done, the only thing I do is beat a hasty retreat, while that green-eyed monster rages inside me.
All three of us have things to take care of on our own, but between us, it should be easier to find some time to...
Fine. Good.
This isn't the proper place for it. With my words too strained, too quiet, no amount of anger would get my own feelings across to him. 17 years, and it never once did. What more now?
Do what you want.
It ends with 3 steps and a hastily shoved bag. In all honesty, I'm not entirely sure what I'm expecting will show in Ashton's face. Anger to match mine? Confusion maybe? Or perhaps regret? It certainly isn't the straight-faced one he has now. However, more than that, beyond the impassive mask he wears, in the passing minute I lock gazes with him, I see it. And the glimpse of it, out of everything tonight, is what shatters all that remains of my restraint. I don't wait for him to say anything. Quickly, I turn my eyes away from his and march towards the door, ignoring the worried glances Zachary shoots my way. My heart may be far from fragile, but neither of them needs to see it break. She didn't close the door that soft. She slammed it. The door closes with a soft click, but for a moment, I remain standing amidst the empty hall. Taking in the silence, listening for anything that'll dare break it, waiting for that hammer to finally fall, or for the ground to swallow me whole. None of it happens, of course, and for what's perhaps the 100th time in the span of a second, I'm left to recall what I saw in Ashton. It's not hearing the thoughtfully worded admission of his own feelings that did it, nor seeing those unguarded, yearning glances he gave her, but facing the faraway look in his eyes, and who he has always seen past me, past the person who has always stood in front of him. I never had him in the first place.
I love him.
Oh, this is the first time I see Rebecca's sprite cry. The words itself leave a bitter aftertaste in my mouth, despite wanting them to be heard for so long. Suddenly, at their mere utterance, the world goes too still, too bright, too sharp, too cold. Ever so slowly, a chill seeps into my heart and settles there, replacing a warmth I no longer remember feeling. Distant, much like the only memories I have of this place. With nothing else to cling to, I run. Behind me, the door once again creaks open, and Zachary calls after me, cordial, friendly, and utterly unsuspecting. I ignore all of it, because even after all this, his isn't the voice I want to hear. I make it out of the hospital in a flurry of steps, my mind abuzz with thoughts and emotions in turmoil. Ignoring the courteous smiles every staff member shoots my way, or the voice shouting after me. My footfalls hit hard against the pavement, each stride a stark refusal, each distance I put a continued denial. More than once, a passing stranger would give me looks. Is it pity, consternation, scorn, or dismay?
It doesn't matter now, does it?
All I hear are the voices inside my head, jeering, mocking, while the rest of the world blurs around me. I'm the one who has always been by his side. I'm the one who knew more about him than anyone. Why couldn't it have been me? But the universe doesn't have an answer for that, and neither does anyone. So I run, until everything fades away from my mind. Until my breathing grows labored. Until my legs buckle, feet catching on loose stone, and the world tilting sideways at long last. A yelp comes from my mouth, but the pain I'm expecting, hoping for, doesn't. When awareness returns to me, in a rush of sounds and colors, it isn't his hand that grips my arm, nor the sharp gleam usually in his eyes that I see. Far, a striking contrast. This one's softer, kinder. Though worry slightly mars his voice, there's nothing in it but genuine concern. Zachary's. It's always a wonder how they even became friends.
Easy there, ma'am.
Why does he keep calling her ma'am? Aren't they friends? He doesn't waste any time, not even to wait for some form of gratitude from me, and quickly pulls me to my feet. However, it isn't until he draws a handkerchief from his pocket and gingerly hands it to me that I glance up at him, searching for an explanation.
For your, face.
He makes a vague gesture around his cheeks, his movement small and a bit awkward before letting his arm fall and hang at its sides, suddenly too afraid to point it out. He does not retract his hand offering the handkerchief, though, merely giving me a sheepish shrug and another smile when I finally lift a hand up my cheek and it comes away wet. Oh. I cast him another look, wary, unsure. But all he has for me is the same accepting smile. There's a question behind it, but for the moment, he holds off. So with another indrawn breath, I take the offered cloth, if only to keep my hands occupied while I put myself together.
Thanks.
No problem. Take your time if you want, and, I'll just be here, pretending I didn't see anything, and,
Zachary's so sweet.
Yeah, take your time.
Aww. Zachary's polite enough to avert his gaze, and only when the last of the tears have been wiped away does he say anything.
You okay? Floor almost had you there.
Yeah, thanks again. Sorry about that.
The words ring hollow even to my ears, and I'm not certain either if they're meant to be an apology for all his troubles or for showing him this pathetic side of me. Nevertheless, he accepts them.
Nah, it is cool. Surprised me, though. Didn't think you could run that fast. But you don't look really well right now. Something happened?
No, nothing. Nothing important. I was just a little shaken, I think, from all that running. I'll be fine, Zachary.
Well, don't push yourself too hard, alright? I'm sure Bella will understand if you ever decide to take a break. Hell, she wouldn't want us fussing over like this. If you aren't feeling up to it, just say so. Let Ashton and I take over now. It ain't a big deal.
Oh, I'm sure Ashton would love that.
Regret follows the second the heated words leave my mouth, and the light mood inevitably shatters. As black as my mood might have been, Zachary doesn't deserve to receive the brunt of it. No one does. Even Ashton. Yet all I see in my head right now is the image of him seating inside that room, spilling his heart out unlike he ever did for me, wearing such sincerity I've never seen in him before. The concerned expression returns to Zachary's face, and with it are the hundreds of questions he's been avoiding to ask. Under his honest scrutiny, I balk. I look away before he can see past this and catch a glimpse of an ugly side of me. But considering how well I've handled this so far, I won't be shocked if he already thinks less of me.
Rebecca, is everything really alright?
I bet he already knows the answer to that. Regardless of appearances, Zach can be quite as perceptive as Ashton. It's part of the reason why they became friends in the first place. Frankly, I don't understand why he's still making an effort to ask. For the sake of being polite? Responding to that will only open a whole different can of worms. He should also know that. What a mess. The best thing to do now is to simply end this. I didn't mean that. Regardless of his good intentions, Zachary doesn't deserve to be caught in the same kind of chaos my mind is in right now.
I'm sorry, Zachary. I didn't mean that.
Smile, bottle it up. Hide it where other people can't judge, even if it leaves me wanting for a more explosive outburst. At least this way, there's no guilt apart from the one I have to suffer myself.
I know you don't. You're actually scarier than that when you mean it.
Am I? Really?
Only a bit. A wee bit. Don't take that personally, please. I mean, you're a really nice person, but you also have to deal with Ash and Bella sometimes. That takes a lot of patience, especially Ash. And you're a teacher, so I guess...
Zachary?
Yes, ma'am?
You don't have to say anything to make me feel better about myself. I'm tougher than that.
Oh, well, I was just...
Besides, I've already heard most of those from Isabella. I'm used to it. Trust me.
Zachary's eyebrows are drawn together when I glance back at him, his mouth opening and closing in a weak attempt to answer my reassurances. This probably isn't what he wants to take this little talk, but the turn it took left him no other choice. Much like how found himself thrust in this position. Out of all people, he now has to be the one standing in the middle to fix things, even when no such obligations have been handed to him. Bloody, he didn't need to follow me, but that's just how he is. This is the unintentional mistake on my part too, yes, though I still can't help but feel responsible. The best apology I can give him right now is a light pat to his arm, a bit half-hearted coming from me, but I do it still. It's not like I have any other thing left I can offer.
Look, Zachary. All of this. It's probably just the stress talking. Don't worry about me. We've all been on the edge since the news broke. I haven't even gotten a decent sleep since it started, and it still doesn't seem like things will be slowing down anytime soon. Maybe it's a good thing Ashton volunteered when he did. At least now we have a few hours to rest, yes? Take your own advice and go get a break yourself, okay?
I throw in another smile at him for good measure, but it falters the second my eyes meet his. It's that look again, the one too honest. If I hold it for a moment longer, I'll probably end up saying things I shouldn't, more than what I'm willing to disclose at the moment. Because despite wanting to get these feelings across, these are also ones I've harbored longer than any. If Ashton won't hear them, won't have them, then neither has the world any right to do so. I'm more than happy to cling to these if it'll keep the misery at bay. I've already done so before. It won't change a damn thing. So without bothering with a goodbye, I walk away. Zachary doesn't stop me, doesn't reach out a hand or call out my name. This is as far as he'll allow himself to cross. For all his concerns, between the two of us, he's more familiar with this line we keep between us than I am. He won't intrude far from what those boundaries will allow. But when his voice rings out again, above the din and traffic around us, in a last attempt to reach me, it does exactly what he's been reluctant to do.
Hey, Rebecca! About Ashton.
I stop and turn to look at him nevertheless. Even with half a mind to bolt, caught between that small urge to hide until this simply blows over and my own curiosity.
Frankly, I don't really understand what happened back there. I ain't gonna pretend I get the gist of it. I ain't sure if this'll help either, but look. He might be the smartest guy I know, but there are times when things go straight over his head. Way over his head.
No malice, no ill will in it. They're words not meant to hurt, just another truth, because apparently we've got heaps of those to throw around today.
So, I think you should talk to him, at least. You don't have to do it, of course. That's just my 2 cents. Ashton can be a bit dense. Sometimes things really work better if you just say it to him.
Zachary ends it with a shrug, a casual and nonchalant as he can manage. The nervous lines of his shoulders tell a different story, however. He wants to say more, but this is all what those metaphorical boundaries we keep will allow, what I will allow for now. In the end, he simply settles for a smile of his own, reluctant, unwilling to leave things here, but with no expectations of it being returned. He's the one who departs for seconds later, leaving the ghosts of what he said hanging over me. Rebecca was followed by a concerned Zachary after she stormed out of the room. He asked her to take her and Ashton's problems anywhere in front of their comatose friend. Before leaving, Zachary advised her to just be straightforward with Ashton. Alright guys, I'm gonna end this episode right here. Wow! Like, this is super long, like, just having one of the characters get hurt. This is, you know, gonna be still a really long playthrough. I still gotta go through all the other characters' deaths. I wonder what happens if, like, some of the characters die when Isabella's in the coma. So I might do those paths as well. You know, there's still a lot of achievements to unlock. There's 142 achievements in this game, and I plan to get all of them. So yeah, just, you know, if you guys are enjoying it, just stick around and, you know, see those achievements in the end. I'm glad that you guys are, you know, watching and, you know, seeing the different paths with me and the different endings and seeing the characters' deaths and stuff like that. So I really appreciate those who are watching. So share the content. If you're enjoying my playthrough of the letter so far, please leave a like. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments, and make sure to subscribe and click that bell button so you know when I upload the next episode of the letter. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great night. Bye.